So today we are starting with episode 1 of the ABCs of Unsolved Murders. We are starting with Alicia Heinrich. She was a Jane Doe for almost 40 years, known as Delta Dawn. She was found December 5th, 1982, by a truck driver looking over the side of the Interstate 10 bridge into the, I'm probably going to butcher this, Escatapa River, and he saw something and he wasn't quite sure what it was at first. He thought maybe it was a doll caught in the brush, but we know it's never a doll. So sadly, it wasn't a doll, it was an 18-month-old baby girl. And she was called Baby Jane Doe Delta Dawn, but today we know her as Alicia Ann Heinrich. So, when she was discovered, I'm also going to call her Alicia through the episode and not Jane Doe. I want her to have her name. She had not been in the water long in the ditch. They estimated like 36 to 48 hours, and the medical examiner discovered that the cause of death was forced drowning. And then the mystery expanded when there were two sightings the police looked into from days earlier. So, on December 3rd, there were a couple witnesses that reported seeing a young woman in an acute state of distress walking along the I-10 highway. She was wearing a blue plaid shirt and jeans and was carrying a quote, barefoot toddler in the freezing cold. In addition to the witnesses, driving, truckers were on their CB radios and raising what was later quoted as a boatload of hell, worried about the woman and the child. People tried to stop and help them, but the woman, refused. She was like, I do not want your help. And then the woman and child were last seen on the Alabama-Mississippi border at the truck scales before they both just vanished. And then not long after that is when Alicia's body was found. And then not long after this, a truck driver reported seeing a second body, an adult woman's body, floating nearby. But despite extensive searches, it's never been found. So maybe it floated away or whatever. But for years, investigators thought that the woman had attempted to smother the child before throwing her from the bridge and then committing suicide by jumping after her. But because no one knew who Alicia was at the time, no one could guess who the woman was either. Even if they wanted to assume it was her mother, they wouldn't know what the mother's name was. So the community where the baby was found adopted the child and named her Baby Jane and Delta Dawn. Even though her name was Alicia, they didn't know that, and they wanted her to have some sort of name when they paid for her funeral and headstone. In 2009, Alicia's body was exhumed to test for DNA and it was put in a national database, but there were no matches. And then in 2014, NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, released a facial reconstruction, hoping that it might spark someone's memory, even though it had been almost 40 years. And then the breakthrough finally came in 2019 when Jackson County Sheriff's Department partnered with Othram Inc. And it's a lab that specializes in forensic grade genome sequencing, and they used proprietary methods to build a genetic profile from the degraded DNA. And Othram was able to provide leads in June of 2020 that really helped out the sheriff's department. So on December 4th, 2020, 38 years to the day after the investigation began, the sheriff made the announcement that Delta Dawn was Alicia Ann Heinrich. So Alicia and her mother, who is 23-year-old Gwendolyn May Clemens, vanished from Kansas City, Missouri around Thanksgiving 1982. Gwendolyn told her family she was moving to Florida to start a new life. The distressed woman on the bridge is believed to be Gwendolyn. In addition, this isn't the only mystery surrounding the river. During the search for Alicia's mother, Gwendolyn, back in 1982, divers found the remains of another man who had been shot and then thrown from the bridge. He was known as Moss Point Doe until 2022 when he was finally identified as Gary Simpson. And so while Alicia has her name back, thankfully, this case is not solved or closed by any means. Gwendolyn is still legally missing, and authorities assume she killed her daughter before killing herself. They don't know for sure if that's the case or if someone else killed them both. So authorities are still wanting to know what happened between Kansas City and the bridge in Mississippi. And if you have any information about the disappearance of Gwendolyn Clemens or the death of Alicia Heinrich, please contact the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Their number is 228-769-3063. I am so glad Alicia was able to get her name back, but we still need to figure out what happened to this poor girl. So if you know anything or think you may know something, just reach out. They're not gonna be upset if it's actually nothing. And this is our first episode of the Unsolved Murder ABCs. We are going to try and bring awareness to unsolved cases that don't have enough information for a full podcast episode. So thanks for watching. We'll probably do episode 2 with the letter B in a day or two, so stay tuned.